Good evening, everybody. My name is Sophie Sung, and I'm going to be your facilitator tonight. So welcome and thank you for joining us. So tonight's topic is a highly requested one. It's about building our authentic power as women leaders. I have a couple of housekeeping items for you before we get started. We will be taking questions at the end of the session, so feel free to pop them down in the chat section below at the bottom of your screen. Behind the scenes, we have Katya Dera, Linda Chevalier, and Sridhana Dabising from the Board of Good, who are here to assist if you are having technical difficulties, but hopefully not. So the Board of Good organizes these webinars as a platform to discuss women leadership openly. And tonight's topic, as I've just mentioned, is about building our authentic power as women leaders. So is power, money, fame, status, all of the above? Do we all feel power the same way? And what does it feel like for a woman to really come into her power? According to scientific research documented in the book Power versus Force by David Hawkins, every thought, choice, and action supports or destroys life. Power supports life, force destroys life. Digging a little deeper into the essence of humans, Gary Zukav, author of A Seat of a Soul, defines authentic power as that cannot be taken from you. It is when your personality comes to align and serve what you have come to do in the world. In brief, it is to give what you have been given. Yet, despite such noble definitions, women are challenged by the word power and being powerful. So tonight, I invite you to a dialogue with our three panelists. Let me introduce you to Natasha Emilien, founder and MD at Red Dot, Umila Sibati, director in banking and financial institutions, and Dipti Gajadhar, head of compliance at Sanlam Trustees International. Ladies, welcome. So to kick off our dialogue, perhaps I would address myself to Natasha. What is power to you, Natasha?
Thank you, Sophie. So hello, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to share about power, which is a topic I'm very passionate about. It's true that when we speak about power, a lot of people are afraid and don't really like power because they define power as this force that gets people to do things that they don't like, which is something wrong, which is something that the evil people use to do wrong things, you know. In my definition of power, it is a more positive definition. Power is actually what sets everything in motion, what enables the change, right? So with this power comes the ability to make things happen. So this is where, for me, of course, if you take this ability to make things happen and you use it badly, of course, it becomes an evil force, let's see. But in my definition of power, you can gain power to do very good things as well with it. So it's really, for me, the ability to set things in motion and make things change. And it's important because with that definition in mind, you can really see that it can be used really to do really positive things.
Mm-hmm. So it's an enabler that sets things in motion. I like it.
Yeah. And that's why as well, I mean, when people think about making change happen in our country, a lot of people say, oh, but I'm powerless. I can't do much about it, you know. But actually, we'll see later, but we can actually do something about it.
We can make a difference, yes. And how about you, Dipti? What is
your
everyone?
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Sophie. So power for me is to have an opinion and to be able to make sure that my opinion is heard, as well as being open to others' opinions. I mean, some might find this definition of power to be very trivial, But believe me, it's not. I mean, the fight for everyone to have the right of freedom of opinion and expression was stated in Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. And the provision, which is commonly known as freedom of speech, which is a principle that supports freedom of an individual and a community to articulate their opinions and ideas without fear, without retaliation, censorship, or any legal sanction. However, for me, I mean, even after 17 years, I see people, especially women around me, not comfortable enough to share their opinions around the table. Women have a tendency to retract from sharing their opinion, not because we do not have one, but because we fear that our opinion will not be respected, will be overruled without any rationale, or simply because we didn't even have a chance to share our opinion. So if you think of it as a retrospect, having an opinion and being able to be respectfully share same is indeed a privilege. And in my personal experience, I would say that the same privilege has largely influenced the way I lead in many situations, especially where my opinion turns out to be a problem-solving opinion. Well, I was often praised to share my opinion with my coworkers, but the real joy came to when you are appreciated to listen to the opinions of others. These sharing of opinions usually ended up in a very fruitful discussion where I get the views of different minds, allowing me to critically analyze my own opinion and work on better solutions and results for the benefit of the company as a whole. So more specifically in the web, which is eventually allowed me to improve leadership skills here.
Thank you, Dipti. I think it's been cutting in and out a few times, but do you like, I really like the fact that you were talking about that freedom of expression that we all have, and that's a power that we have as women, as any human right. Why do you think there's that fear of expressing our opinions in such a way? Is it because of belief that we have?
I think the fear came from our own background, the way we were growing up.
Right.
So we already told from a very early age that, you know, a girl has to be very silent, has to be very polite, but that doesn't mean not sharing your opinion. So there is a way to share your opinion, and there is a way to do it. You don't need to, like, you know, shout it out, but you can actually your opinion down and be respected for that and make people listen to you.
Right. Okay. Well, we do have quite some good definitions here: strength, enablers that set things in motion, and freedom of expression, which is a great thing. Urmila, how about you? What is your definition of power?
Hi, Sophie. Thanks for this great question. I'd like to also thank the whole audience here. It's so nice to see a mixture of various people we know, some we don't know, but we'll get to know later, and men, women in leadership. I'm so glad that we're having this topic today. I'd like to say that this topic today should not be seen as if we're having it because we think women is second power. Not at all. It's to encourage other women to be more confident and to also embrace power that we all have internally and also what we can show externally. I relate to what Natasha was saying earlier. Power is the ability to change things. Great, positive change is what you relate to when you talk about power, positive power. But just going back to what power really means, I mean, in the scientific sense, in physics, power means work done over time, unit of time. And if we translate this into the actual world, it really means the ability to get more done with less, more done from others, via others, with less time, with less effort. And if you get that, you achieve that, you're powerful. The ability to influence others, the ability to contribute through others is power. Power is not just physical power. Power can also be the power of mind, this power of self-control. And one thing that we often take for granted or is natural, but if we relate to women, women have a unique power. Perhaps not everyone can exert it, but it's the power of giving birth. That's the biggest power of the world. Imagine women decide not to give birth. We have the ability, some of us may not have the ability, but in general, we have the ability and have the willingness. This gives us power. And imagine if women refuse to reproduce, what will happen to the world? So this here should give women enough confidence that we have power.
Fantastic. Thank you, Urmila. It's subtle. At the same time, it's almost absolute, right? Like you said, if women decided not to give birth tomorrow, what would happen? That would lead to extinction. And I mean, like, power is such a great thing. Do you think, I'm interested to know, Urmila, so there has often been a negative connotation, like you, all three of you have mentioned. There's been a negative connotation of power and women, and we've all often been told that power was not traditionally ours, right? It's often been more of a masculine thing, let's say. Do you think culture has influenced the way we embrace this power? Because innately, if, like you've said, we have this power and we have the power to give birth, to move things, that strength, that freedom of expression, then why? Would that be culture? Does culture have anything to do with it?
That's a great question, Sophie. Yeah, I mean, culture in the past, as we have seen, culture has evolved over time. In the past, women didn't have the opportunity to have formal education, and they had different roles. Their roles were to look after the family, the children, whilst men they had different roles of going out and earning money and showing more of that type of power. But yet women still had some power. It has just changed form over time. I must put a word of caution here. We are very privileged to have men in the audience as well. And this discussion is not about what men versus women. It's more about discovering and really taking stock of what we both have. And I would say men, have biologically, they have more physical power than women. However, women can also have power, like you mentioned, Sophie, earlier, in a subtle way, and in the way they communicate, in their empathy, and the way that they can actually get things done and also show that type of power. Culturally, nowadays, things have changed. Now women are more educated. We see more and more women going to further and further education. They are more informed. Women also are more connected, like via social media, how we're doing now. We can make our voices more heard, our opinions and ideas heard more easily at work and in society or in communities. It is becoming, over time, the culture has changed with technology as well. And we're able to express that more and be more empowered. I might say more than powerful, but more empowered to assume leadership roles to bring positive change in the economy and in communities. So yes, culture has changed over time. Religion and culture have things in common, but we would see, like in some cultures, like the Hindu culture, you have the goddess with several hands. 10 different hands, and each hand is holding something. One is holding a sword, showing the power, the tough physical power. But the another hand can be holding a flower, showing the soft side. So it has been depicted this way through many, many, many years and decades, and till we can't even remember. So it has been that the power of women have always been there. It's which form it has taken now in practice, and we've seen this a lot through changes in society, changes in technology, and all that stuff. So definitely, culture makes a difference.
Right. And I love the idea that you were just giving here about the balance in power too. So having a sword on one hand and then a flower on the other side. So which is a lot to do about action on one hand, but on the other side to embrace the other qualities that we have too. So for instance, our quality of being empathetic, compassionate, and vulnerable in other ways too. Yeah. Thank you, Urmila. And Dipti, how about you? Do you think that culture has influenced the way we embrace power today as women?
Yes, definitely. I mean, indeed, traditionally speaking, power was not a thing for women, and this is something that we need to accept whether we want it or not. In the history of our civilization, it defines power as force, and force was equal to physical power then, where this physical force and energy were required to do basically everything. But then machinery has replaced most of those tasks which required muscle power and physical force. And just to add up to what Urmila just said, so this was the opportunity for women to get outside and to get into the workforce, because that muscle power was not required anymore. And just one more thing which might not comes into our mind sometimes is that we women now have proper and affordable sanitary hygiene materials, medications, a steady water supply, which can take care of one thing which made women feel less powerful, which is menstruation. So women, girls, were not allowed to go to schools. They were restricted to the household just because we didn't have those sanitary affordable materials to be able to allow us to travel, to go to school, which meant that lack of education and inability to travel to school meant that girls didn't have that opinion. Coming back to my first point about opinion, meant for men more than women. But then at the same time, now we've been we are computerized, we are going digital. So I don't see any reason why women not have this power. And literally it's speaking, it's not no more traditional. It's something which we can own as much as men.
Yes, so it's evolved.
Yes.
And with the technology, education, and the facilities that women have been given, we now have the power to own our own power.
Right, correct.
Yes. And what about you, Natasha?
So for me, it's a lot about the definition of what we believe power is. I think if we are born in a culture where power is about, the title that I have, or the big car that I have, or the money, or the name, or whatever status that I have, if we are grown in that kind of environment, of that kind of culture, of course, if we don't have those, we will feel powerless, right? And then when we will want to make change happen because we see things that we can't tolerate, or we see things that are not right and not fair to everyone. We will want to make change, but we say we don't have the proper title, the proper money. How can we even make the change happen? But when we think about the definition of power in the larger sense of it, like you just mentioned before, all of you, saying that we can have different forms of power, right? If we can, despite our culture and despite our environment, we can reframe power as being something that can be inclusive, can be something that anyone can cultivate, everyone can be born with that power, right? And the ability to be caring to each other, the ability to be kind, the ability to create a community if I want to reach out to people if I want to, without money, without the name and the title and so on, but the ability to bring hope to people, to bring excitement, to, you know, to gather people together. I mean, all of these are powerful ways to make change happen. So what I want to say that, yes, I strongly believe that the culture we are in, whether for men or women, didn't help us because they gave us a strict definition of power, what power is. And this is why a lot of men and women, when they start climbing up the ladder, they try to fit into that definition of power. They start buying the big car, they start getting, you know, perhaps very you know, strict, or, you know, they try to stop being, you know, we say, oh, you have too many emotions, don't show off your emotion at work, you know, don't smile too much, it doesn't look good when you do corporate photos or video, don't smile too much, we see too much of your, I mean, all of this, you know, be strong, look hard, you know, all of this, it tries to fit us in that box of how you should look as powerful. But despite all this, we can understand that there's so much more definitions of power. And if we don't have the ones that are dictated by the society, we can create our own ways of being powerful, right? We can really, we have so many examples of people. I take the example of Greta Thunberg, this young lady. I know a lot of people don't like her, but she's a young lady who managed to build a community of young people to follow her because she was able to speak to their heart. I think it's amazing. It's a proper example for us of someone who didn't have the name, who didn't have the status, the money and so on, but she was able to do great things and things were moving, you know? So yeah, I definitely think there's a role of the culture, but it's not like we can't do anything about it.
The interesting thing is that what I'm hearing too, Natasha, and thank you very much for that, is that we do have the power to influence culture too. Yeah. So at this present moment, culture, which is a set of beliefs and values that our society and our family hold, we do have the power to influence that too.
Exactly.
Moving forward, right?
Yeah. I mean, in our brains, very scientifically, it's all a matter of how our brains are wired, right? So it's just a matter of unwiring and rewiring in the right way, you know, that's it. So it's possible. I mean, there's so many examples of how you can, you know, change your mental framework, you know, and it's possible, and we should do it, right? If you really want to make the change happen.
Yes. Which really starts with the awareness of how power is actually a positive thing too, right? Because if we start from the definition that power is something that has a negative connotation, then it's already a starting block that sets us back. So starting from that right foot, saying that power is positive and it can be used for change and positive outcomes. So then from there on to build from that and to yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And how do you, yes.
So I think a woman, man or woman, no one should ever be ashamed of saying, I want power. You know, of course, if you want power to do good things, it's fine just to say you want power and to work for it. You know, we shouldn't be ashamed of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we say, power is it is a human right too, because it is, as part of it is freedom of expression, for instance. So how do you suggest for anybody on the call today, like if we wanted to build our power, like for ladies on the call, or even men, in fact, like if we wanted to build our power, what do you have suggestions on how to do that? Our own power, our own authentic power. How do we build it? Yourself, Natasha.
Okay. So for me, I fully agree with my colleagues that I think there's the digital as a tool to build power, right? A few years back, when a woman had something to say, she had no I mean, she couldn't go and say, oh, you know, Business Magazine, can you interview me? Like, you know, it was very difficult for women to get access to those forums of this conversation. But today with digital, I believe that it's a great opportunity for us women to be able to speak up, right? It's very important because with digital, we are able to build our personal brand. We are able to say things and broadcast it widely to everywhere around the world. I mean, it's absolutely crazy, but it's a great tool that, again, as any other tool, you can use it for the good or you can use it for the bad as well. But let's say for the good, really, it's, I would say any single woman would be able to create her network and her power and influence people. However, and it's something I always say to the people around me, it's not only about becoming visible. When you want to build power, you need to build also what you have to say to the world. And you need to be very mindful of what you want to project, what message you want to give to the other people. So it's not only about building your networks, it's also about building who you are and what you want to say. And it's very important because we are provided the opportunity now to share and broadcast our opinions. It's important that we are able to say things that are powerful, that mean value to the people who are listening to us, and that are not like what I call platitudes. So if you're invited to a session, you know, a webinar, whatsoever, you need to work on what you have to say. And it's important because with this opportunity comes also a responsibility for me to be able to speak up for the good causes, and not only for yourself, but for the others as well. So for me, if you want to build power, build your digital presence, but build also the content of what you're going to say. Build what not only the form, but the concrete stuff that you want to share with the world, and it needs to be something that brings value to the other people. Yeah, that's why basically how I would say build your power. Last thing, perhaps, digital provides you so many tools today to set up your own website yourself. To if you don't have the data, let's say you want to do something about poverty, you don't have the necessary data to do so. You can easily, with Google Forms, you can, I mean, so many tools that you can use to even without putting any money on the table, to be able to gather the data with people around you. You can create your own website, you can create your own movement. Through social media, you can create your own community. So I think there are no excuses anymore for someone who wants to build his or her power to be able to do so, right? So really, it's really about exploring, trying out, failing sometimes, learning from it, but at least trying out.
Yes, without that fear of judgment or being criticized, etc., that we often, and I know many women, we often talk about that, like even though we have the tools available to us, sometimes we don't want to express our opinions because we fear what might come back from expressing ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's and just to finish on this, yes. I think the Board of Good is a pure example of that. I mean, Board of Good was created in 1 week, the form that we know actually, and the register of directors are all about free tools, right? And it cost nothing. And within a few days, we had like 150 women signing up, and we are starting to get really concrete results with some of our members being appointed as directors. So we can make the change with almost nothing, but digital helped a lot doing so.
Yes, digital did help to provoke those opportunities, let's say, and have that voice out there. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, Natasha. And Deepti, yourself, how can each of us build our power?
So for me, the best way to build our power and keep it, and just to carry ourselves with confidence. So confidence is for me cultivated through acquiring and sharing of knowledge. So the more knowledge in every possible field will give you that confidence to be able to have an opinion and to share the opinion. Going back again to my first point. So knowledge is here to stay. I mean, it is going to be difficult Unfortunately, we're still living in a patriarchal society where women still need to change their name after marriage to be able to have a status and stuff. And but we'll have to get it. And knowledge is the way out. I mean, even the UN Women in 2015, they defined 2030 at the expiration of gender inequality. But the study conducted a few years ago shows that current rate, in the current rate that we're going at the moment, the elimination of gender inequality will only happen in 2095. So basically the struggle is real. And for me, this struggle is we are only going to get over this struggle is by acquiring knowledge, by studying, by learning, by having a broad mind, a broad mindset, a broad horizon to be able to learn from and to share opinions and learn more. So the more you learn at a very young age, the more power we will get as we grow up.
So education plays an important role.
Exactly. Education, knowledge, and basically this power of ours will ensure that those women's opinion matter around the table. And we've got to get to that level that if we are not invited to the table to share our opinion, then we'll have to create our own table.
Right. Thank you, Deepti. How about you, Mila?
Oh, yes. So how to build power, but also how to sustain power, I would say. Power, you can have it today, but it can be lost tomorrow. So how do you sustain power? The way I think about it is, it's a bit like today's world, followers. How do I want to increase my number of followers on social media? Though I am not so much on social media, to be honest. But when you think like, somebody has got so many followers and their followers are growing, it's kind of like to say that their power is also growing. And what makes this grow? How do they build it? I mean, I just think of 5 different things, and I have summarized it in my head, like they all start with a C. So I have my 5 C's that I could share with you. First C is credibility. For me, credibility is the first. Why? Because it involves respect, trust, and integrity. If you have credibility, people believe in you, people believe you're genuine, people will follow you. So that's one. So this makes you become an inspiration to others. So being inspirational makes you powerful in one way. Secondly, how Deepti has said about the second C is confidence. Confidence with knowledge, you build confidence. Also, how you build confidence is by having proper, better self-control. Self-control makes you more confident. You can have that by being more calm. You don't need to be showing, oh, I'm powerful, or you have to hit the table during a meeting or raise your voice, or be like me right now. But it can also be done in a very calm way. And there are different tools that you can use to build that sort of confidence in yourself in order to also be, more powerful later through yoga, meditation, physical activities. It helps building the body, the mind, the spirit. And this shows when you talk to others and when you exhibit that level of power. So comes with that is communication, the other C, communication. Having effective communication builds also power or leadership. Let's more talk about also leadership. Communication involves listening to others, not just talking all the time, but you listen to others, you empower others to express themselves. And it, again, in return, it also gives you power, because people also want to listen to you when you listen to them. having proper verbal communication, not only verbal, but also written, and also showing the empathy when there are problems, how you can solve problems, make you more powerful. With that comes the other C, the caring. That C is very important. Caring, listening to others, having not only the ability, but the willingness to help others, the willingness to make changes, the willingness to challenge status quo. If you're able and you're willing to make a change, you will see some people, they are very analytical, I must say, and many people like to analyze and give opinions, but also the ability to accept that you are wrong sometimes. We are wrong, and many times we learn from our mistakes, like Natasha said earlier. We learn through the mistakes and we persevere. So this ability to care for others, to care for ourselves as well, and to be gentle and accept being wrong sometimes can build more power. And finally, the other C that comes to my mind is commitment. It's very important to commit to what you say you will do. If you say, I'm going to do this, that, and you don't follow through, you're not committed, well, next time, people are not going to really believe in you. And they'll be like, okay, that was just a one-off. So if you want to sustain your power, you want it to continue, commitment is very important for a leader. Okay, so, and when you say you will do something, you deliver. So this is very important to have commitment. So my 5 C's, I mean, there's a lot more than that, but just to memorize, I like those mnemonics, 5C, credibility, confidence, communication, caring, and commitment.
And commitment. Thank you so much, Urmila. And really the commitment joins very much to what Natasha was saying earlier on, finding our authentic voice and being committed to what we really believe in, using the tools that we have to bring our voice out there in a powerful and humble way too, caring see, I really like that, caring, which is often seen as something more softer, more feminine, and not so much of a go-getter thing, which I really like that you've included that in how we can build our own power. And I think self-care, I mean, like talking about caring, part of it is self-care too. I mean, how we care about building our own person and how much we manage to thrive from that. So what I'm hearing here is that power is a right that we have, it's positive, and it's really something that can be cultivated, right? So often, like very, very often, for example, even though we might have many tools and tips that we read and hear, it can happen that we walk in a room, for instance, and we are all prepared for it, but then we walk in the room and then we look at our audience or everyone sitting in the room, and we do really feel very small, not enough of something. Those things that happen in our mind very often. So if you were to be that voice into that woman's mind when she walks somewhere, anywhere, like even on a webinar, for instance, right? No matter how prepared we are for it, sometimes when we're about to log in, we just feel really small. So if you were to be that little voice, what would you say to her? Dipti.
So if I was that little voice, I mean, for me, basically, like we just celebrated Durga Navami, which is a celebration in Mauritius, and which many people are aware, whether they're in Hindu religion or not. So we celebrated Shakti, and Shakti literally means power. So as a Hindu woman, this is what comes into my mind. So I own it. I can own it, and this is something which actually boosts up my opinion. and which will make me absolutely have no fear and to speak my opinion and get into the boardroom and get it done.
I own it. And then having a, it sounds like a deep spiritual practice that you have to.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic, thank you. So I own it. That's great. Natasha, what about you? What would you sound like, and what would it be? What words would you give to that woman?
Yeah, so I used to be confronted with a lot of these situations that you just described, like preparing for an intervention or important board meeting or so on, and not being able to voice out my opinion or be powerful in the meeting, right? So before, I used to be quite ashamed of the situation. I used to say, this little voice of mine would say like, oh, you know, you didn't deserve to be there, or, you know, you prepared so much, how come you didn't manage to put into practice what you've learned, and so on and so on. But now, after like the other ladies were sharing like a lot of work on myself, on my self-confidence and so on, I think I would say, you know, it's okay. It's just okay if sometimes you just come in and you don't perform, you're not able to show your power or your leadership. It's just okay, because we are all human beings at the end of the day. And yeah, just try to make the best out of it. And if you fail, you fail, and that's just okay. So be kind to yourself. You're only human, and it's a journey. So you need to embrace the journey of trying to become, of doing your best to become. And it's not about where you will reach or what you will achieve and when you will become powerful and this, you know, big leader and so on. No, it's about embracing the steps you're taking towards this goal, you know. So it's really about that, and it's really about being good to yourself and to others that might be like you as well.
Right. Thank you very much for that. I like that. It almost sounds like we shouldn't be too attached to the outcome after all. To go with it, and it's okay not to have it 100%. And often you're talking about failure. Failure, it really is sometimes it's just a redirection, right? We put so much weight onto the word failure, but then it's something in our mind too. It's just a redirection to something else very often.
Indeed.
Be good, you deserve it, it's okay. These are all the words that Natasha just shared with us. Thank you, Natasha. Okay. And Urmila?
Okay, so the key words seem to be good, do good, as long as you're doing the right thing. And I think we should not be scared, as long as we're really doing the right thing, you know. I think this should be enough to lead us forward. And the right thing is for everyone, not just for ourselves, but also looking at the big picture, at the future, be visionary, not just be criticizing and sitting behind and you know, pointing fingers, but always think of how we can make things better from today. Think innovation. Think of doing good. Like, I think the Board of Good, that the name Board of Good, Natasha, I don't know where you got that from, but it's excellent. It's really excellent. I mean, we talk about good governance. We're all these like big topics that we're always talking about in the Board of Directors that I'm part of as well. And at the end of the day, is all about doing good. And to do good, we have to be confident that we are going to be doing something better than yesterday, and not be afraid of taking steps forward. I think trying to copy others in leadership, you read so many books, you hear so many big leaders, but you can't really be any of those big leaders. You just have to be yourself. Be genuine, be yourself, not be afraid of being judged. Even today, we are here we may not be to everyone's liking, hopefully to most, and this webinar has been enlightening to many. But we are not perfect, like Natasha said, and Sophia as well highlighted. It's about having fun with what you're doing. Let it go, and just be yourself. Be authentic. All right.
And just wanted to, sorry, I just wanted to add something to what Umila said. So I think one more thing that is very important is that we women just have to think back of how we evolve over time. So I think this is the real power of where we were as women and how we've evolved and where we are now. We've got women as Jacinda Ardern, who are like prime ministers. We've got women in every field. Women are those are very good spokespersons around the globe. If you go on YouTube, whether they're actors, whether they're students, whether we are politicians, women are everywhere. So this political participation of women leadership, including parliamentary contribution that women have at the moment is actually our courage to see where we were and all the way we made to be able to come here. So this is also something which can encourage everyone to be able to just make it better.
That's a very good point. And in fact, I think I did see it coming up in the chat group there that nowadays we have role models, right? And I think it's important to have that too. And we are having more and more exposure to that on how women are owning their power. And we do have a question that's come in earlier on, and I'd like to address that to our panelists here. So whoever wants to go on that. Is there a link between gender pay gap and women power, especially at senior management level or board level? Who wants to give it a go? Natasha?
I could give this a go. I think the gap has been there traditionally over time in terms of the numbers itself. Numbers of women on boards versus men on boards. We are very far from the international norms that we have. I think in the UK, it's already, they have a goal by 2015, 2025, I mean, and so far they've already reached about 70% of women are on the board, so that's their goal, and they've already reached more than 50%, and that makes a bit of a difference, the numbers, because sometimes when you sit on a board and you have a few women having this similar opinions, it gives a bit of confidence of going forward with expressing your views, because a few others will express similar views. I'm just talking about what reality is. But in a board where you are the only woman, it feels that women have a long way to go. They have to work twice before they say something. They must have already done enough research, read their papers well at senior management, and be confident at every point that they're going to say, because they are being judged in a way. I mean, it shouldn't be this way. I mean, that's what we're trying to break. But many times they're being judged for what they say, and it's reality, and it's true that there is this gap on many boards these days. But if we are able to break through this, it would mean that those women would have worked 2 or 3 times more to be where they are today. And there are many women out there who have these abilities, who can do. It's just a matter of being known more in the corporate community. And the Board of Good is doing just the right thing in order to bring on board more women and bridge that gap that gap on the board. I hope I have answered the question a bit.
Thank you very much, Umila. And I'd like to ask you on that. Do you reckon sometimes we underestimate our own credibility as women?
To some extent, yeah, some women, we are our own enemy in a way. If we are not confident within ourselves, who will be confident for us? If we don't believe in ourselves, we don't believe, nobody is going to believe us. So it's what we have, it's all in the mind. I mean, nowadays, as we've seen, we've heard earlier, that there is all the tools, all the technology, all the ways to, to express ourselves, social media, there are all sorts of things nowadays that we should embrace to express ourselves, to talk and to say, no, there's no fear as before. Education is for all now. Nobody said that women should be less educated than men, or that is all in our minds these days, and it shouldn't be. We can only be our own enemy if we don't let it go.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you, Mila. Natasha, I know you had something. Yeah.
No, I think it's. I mean, I see no rational reason why men and women would have a different salary for the same work. Huh? So I think that's a problem on its own. But I believe that the ability to voice out this problem, as Umila was saying, it's about, do we have the confidence to voice it out, even if we are alone, the sole woman in a boardroom full of men, or the other way around. But I just wanted to add that there's also a role for what I call sponsors in a corporate world. Those people, whether men or women, that can help those who cannot voice out. I think for those who are confident enough, they have a role, a responsibility to also bring up those issues for those who can't voice out. I think it's a matter of having more empathy as a leader and be able to say, oh, how come, seeing an annual report and saying, how come some directors have this amount of salary and those not, even if you're forming part of those who have the highest salary. So it's really about, the role that anyone should have in this issue, because it's the fact that there's no balance. It's not only the problem of women or the underserved communities, it's the problem of everyone. If we are serious about more inclusion, more balance, everyone should be working on it. So even if you are confident and on the right side of the problem, you should be able to voice that as well.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Natasha. I'm seeing one of the comments that's come in just then. I sometimes have trouble embodying my whole self when people around tell me I am too much. So to be socially acceptable, I am often in hiding. And I like the response that came from it. And it says, and how the whole world miss out on your fabulous uniqueness. That's really great. But it is the reality of things sometimes. So sorry, there's another question that's come in. Katya has just sent it. Sorry, Katya, is that a question about this issue? I think we'll probably take that question in an email, given the time, and it's a rather long question. So to whoever had a question coming in around the growing epidemic of misogyny, maybe we can address that at a later time by email, Katja. So in the interest of time here, given we are almost at 7 p.m., ladies, would you like to share a last word on our conversation tonight to the ladies on the call, the gentlemen too, in fact?
Yes, perhaps I can start. I just wanted to say that We are all powerful. We all have power. When we start rethinking power of something that you can create your own type of power, I think we can't say anymore that we can't have access to power. All the tools are there, all the opportunities are there, right? If you don't know how to, just reach out to me, I will explain to you again. But I think it's there's no excuse anymore for me. We need to all work on it. Those who have power already, those who want to have power, we all need to work on it together.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a collective, and it's the power of a collective, right?
Exactly.
Any other panelists, Sumila, Dipti, did you have any last word?
Yes, just to reiterate the fact that you've got to build a firm foundation from the very beginning. You've got to have the opinion, you've got to have the courage and the confidence to share it. You've got to sit with people, men and women, to be able to understand opinions, to be able to share views and learn and share expertise. And this is the way we'll acquire power. We'll be more broad-minded, and yeah. So I just wish that we women can actually fix each other's crowns, like we say, instead of pulling each other down. Not only women, yeah, we shouldn't push men down as well. So just everyone just has to help each other, and women definitely need. Unfortunately, we need to at some point to stand up for ourselves, whether we are encouraged or not. So yeah, have your own words, be assertive, and we'll get through this.
Certainly.
Well, so just the last thing to summarize, I suppose, if we want to build a power, something that each and every one of us can build on, if the word power is too harsh to use by definition, but we need to think of changing that definition in our mind, first of all, and think of it as a positive word and build on it, to build power. I would suggest we think of those 5 C's, which kind of englobes everything that we have spoken about today. Maybe there are more other stuff, but I hope that today's webinar has woken up this little energy in all of us, or the audience, and that we all somehow relate to it, whether we are women or men, and hope that it will bring a positive change in our community. Thank you so much for everyone who is here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, like we said. And if you do want to reach out to us or send us feedback or tell us what you'd like to hear in our next webinar, you can still email us at hello@boardofgood.com. And for the questions that we weren't able to answer, we'll try our best possible to get back to you on this. And I hope tonight we've been able to inspire a little and plant some seeds, some awareness around power, that it is a positive thing that we can cultivate with time. And hopefully we will have a series of those conversations coming up in the near future. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for everybody who's joined, spent that hour with us. And thank you very much, panelists, for your input tonight. Good night.
Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you.
Bye.